Itu murgi. Ambil murgi dari tadi. Ambil. Dia lagi nak kalah deh. Hey. Ano na job deta?
কি হবে জেনে
মডেলিং করে আর
আমি কেমন
একটা বিলান
এই তো অনেক ভালো অনেক সুখের আমি তোমার দুঃখ নিয়ে বেঁচে আছি কি হবে জেনে আমি কেমন আছি এই তো অনেক ভালো অনেক সুখের আমি তোমার দুঃখ নিয়ে
আমরা যাই না ইয়ার বাড়ি যাই
We are now standing just below a team of drillers, and this team is about to install a community well for the mosque in Lashkadi village. The local residents have asked us for this, and based on the information that we have, we think that the likely safe depth is about 200 feet. The method that you see being used uses the hand essentially as a check valve. It's called in some places called the hand flapper method, and essentially the raising and lowering of the PVC pipe behind me, and the opening and closing of the hand at the right time creates a circulating water stream. That water clears the hole from the sediment. The sediment is discharged when it comes out through the top, and then the water without the sediment penetrates the hole again for bringing up another load of sediment. And using this method, a team of 3 to 4 men, as you see behind me, can go down to a depth of about 300 feet within a day.
I am Qazi Motin Ahmed. I am a professor here at the Department of Geology, Dhaka University. We have been collaborating for a long time with Columbia University in studying the arsenic occurrence and distribution in Arai Hajar Upazila of Bangladesh. And now we are trying to apply that knowledge for providing safe water to the local community. What we have seen that geology controls a very vital part. We cannot get safe water at a fixed depth at every village, so we have to assess that village by village. So this project will help us in doing that.
জীবনে কি রঙ্গ আমার কি রঙ্গ জীবনে কি রঙ্গ আমার কি রঙ্গ ঘুম না ভেঙে দেখি আমার জানালা এক ঝাঁক আলোর বিহঙ্গ কি রঙ্গ
Now, this installation is somewhat unusual because we are also using it to train two workers from the largest NGO in Bangladesh, which is BRAC. BRAC and Columbia University just signed an agreement whereby we will transfer some of the simple techniques that we've developed to sample groundwater and test it for arsenic using a field kit before a well is actually installed. And this allows you to determine, once a certain depth has been reached, based on the previous test data, whether indeed safe water has been reached. And if that isn't the case, then the drilling team can continue and drill deeper until the proper level is reached. And so there can be a tremendous amount of savings both in cost and labor because the the owner of this well will not end up with a well that is too shallow by, say, 50 feet, just because he had no way of determining in advance what the arsenic content was going to be. So we are training two of the first NGO workers using these techniques that we've developed, and combined with the cellular phone to download the relevant data, we hope that they will be able to install on the order of 100 to 150 community wells over a period of 1 year throughout Ara Hazar.
Hello, my name is John Immel. I'm working with Lex van Geen on the arsenic project in Bangladesh. I'm a programmer developing mobile cellular technology for arsenic mitigation. With our software, we can use a mobile phone, a cellular phone, to contact our database sitting in New York City. And this database contains information about digging wells, how deep should I dig a well for arsenic-free water in a village. So every village has its own geology. Our database can use mathematics to analyze the underlying soil and discover where we can find arsenic-free water. So we chose to use the cellular phone instead of other technologies because cellular phones are booming in Bangladesh, and they are technology that you can find even in remote places. So people don't have computers yet in the rural areas, and they don't have pocket PCs, but they do have cell phones, and they know how to use the cell phones. So for this reason, we decided to use technology that is simple for everybody. The villagers themselves will be able to contact us using SMS messaging. And this SMS messaging is very simple technology. They can send our computer a request, and our computer will automatically tell them how deep to dig a well in their village.
Cellular phones application that was developed by our consultant, John Immel, doesn't only give access through the internet to the BAMWAS data, it also allows the uploading of data. And so particularly if the NGO workers are in a village where the verdict based on existing data was right now there is no safe depth that can be identified, if the team turns out to install a safe well, and preferably several more wells, once that information is uploaded, then the application will update the data set, and someone working independently in a neighboring village will be able to obtain the same information, and using caution, of course, may be able to have a better sense of what the safe depth is in that neighboring village. And so we hope that by combining this technology, the widespread use of cell phones in Bangladesh today, the enormously valuable BAMWAS data set will continue to be updated with information with reliable information that is provided. Eventually, we don't see why the use of the cell phones should be limited to NGO workers. In fact, we imagine that over time, after a sufficient number of community wells have been installed by the larger NGOs in Bangladesh, we see a role for the private sector. And the role we see is that private consultants could equip themselves with the Java-enabled cell phone that is needed, purchased the needle sampling device that we developed, obtain a field kit for arsenic and be trained to use that, and then offer their services to anyone who wishes to install a new well. And that is often the case when a household has found out through the BAMWAS testing program that their own well was unsafe. Of course, if the private sector is involved, that means we need some independent quality control. And that's where we see perhaps a shift in the role of an NGO like BRAC, from first provider of community wells and optimal use of the resources that are available, to setting up a program that certifies private consultants that provide the same service for profit and ensures through periodic spot checks and retraining when necessary that the consultants are doing a proper job.
কি রঙ্গ জীবনে কি রঙ্গ আমার কি রঙ্গ কি রঙ্গ জীবনে কি রঙ্গ আমার কি রঙ্গ ঘুম না ভেঙেই দেখি আমার জানালা ছুঁয়ে এক ঝাঁক আলোর বিহঙ্গ কি রঙ্গ আমার কি রঙ্গ কি রঙ্গ জীবনে কি রঙ্গ আমার কি রঙ্গ চিলের ডানা মেখে নেয় রৌদ্রের গন্ধ অবগুণ্ঠিত মল্লিকার দয় খুলে অঙ্গনে ছড়ালো আনন্দ শঙ্খ চিলের ডানা মেখে নেয় রৌদ্রের গন্ধ অবগুণ্ঠিত মল্লিকার দয় খুলে অঙ্গনে ছড়ালো আনন্দ অবগুণ্ঠিত মল্লিকার দয় খুলে অঙ্গনে ছড়ালো আনন্দ যেন পাল তোলা তরুণীকে আহ্বানে ছুঁয়ে যায়
We started this project for essentially two reasons. The first one is that people in Bangladesh continue to install wells because groundwater remains the most convenient source of water that is not contaminated by human pathogens. The sad thing is that these installations of wells that continue perhaps at a somewhat slower rate, but still very frequently, are essentially conducted blindly. And we don't think that is necessary. And the reason that is not necessary is that the Bangladesh Arsenic Mitigation and Water Supply Program has orchestrated over the past several years the collection of field kit data for arsenic, data that turn out to be quite adequate for screening safe and unsafe wells from the point of view of arsenic. BAMOS has accumulated a database, an enormous database of over 5 million tests by now. And for each of these tests, not only the arsenic level, but also the depth of a well is known, because people know how deep a well is because they paid for every piece of PVC pipe that went into its construction. And and for every test is also associated with a village name, and with a village name and a Musa name and Upazila name, essentially the location of a particular well of each of these tests is known to the village level. And based on a study that we've been conducting here in Ara Hazar for the past 5 years, we have we have concluded that the village level is really the where the decision should be made in terms of grouping data from numerous tests, and based on this information trying to identify if a village has an accessible safe aquifer. So to summarize, the first reason is that people continue to install blindly. The second one is there is a large data set that is right now inaccessible to villagers that could very much help them identify safe aquifers or find out that their village hasn't the wells in existing wells in their village hasn't identified with any sufficient certainty the presence of a saline aquifer, and therefore that some exploratory deeper drilling is necessary. And the way we address these two issues is by providing access to the BAMAS dataset through cellular phones.
চিলের ডানা মেখে নেয় রৌদ্রের গন্ধ, অবগুণ্ঠিত মল্লিকার দায় খুলে অঙ্গনে ছড়ালো আনন্দ। শঙ্খ চিলের ডানা মেখে নেয় রৌদ্রের গন্ধ, অবগুণ্ঠিত মল্লিকার দায় খুলে অঙ্গনে ছড়ালো আনন্দ, অবগুণ্ঠিত মল্লিকার দায় খুলে অঙ্গনে ছড়ালো আনন্দ। যেন পাল তোলা তরুণীকে আহ্বানে ছুঁয়ে যায় নিঃসীম সাগর তরঙ্গ। একই রঙ্গ আমার, একই রঙ্গ, একই রঙ্গ জীবনে, একই রঙ্গ আমার, একই রঙ্গ। লক্ষ চোখের তারা এঁকে নেয় জোছনা রঞ্জন, মাঠে প্রান্তরে জনপদে বাঁধলো এবার হৃদয়ের ভালোবাসা রাখে বন্ধ। লক্ষ চোখের তারা এঁকে নেয় জোছনা রঞ্জন, মাঠে প্রান্তরে জনপদে বাঁধলো এবার হৃদয়ের ভালোবাসা রাখে বন্ধন। আজ রুদ্ধ দুয়ার খুলে আধার মুছিয়ে দিল নির্মল আকাশের সঙ্গ। একই রঙ্গ আমার, একই রঙ্গ, একই রঙ্গ জীবনে, একই রঙ্গ আমার, একই রঙ্গ। ঘুম না ভেঙেই দেখি আমার জানালা ছুঁয়ে এক ঝাঁক আলোর বিহঙ্গ। একই রঙ্গ আমার, একই রঙ্গ, একই রঙ্গ জীবন।